Welcome in. It is college football smothered and covered here. A beautiful Wednesday. I will be departing for Dublin, Ireland to cover the Georgia Tech Florida State game a little bit later today. And in what is non-accidental synergy, it is ACC Picks Day here on College Football Smothered and Covered. Hey, thanks for making College Football Smothered powered by Locked On your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast and, of course, on YouTube as well. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. The good folks over at Gametime can download their app. They do a very good job. You can create an account. Use code LOCKEDONCollege, Locked On College, for $20 off your first purchase. $20 off your first purchase at Gametime. That is a deal, man. That is a deal. Terms apply, of course, but in terms of deals, that's up there. That is up there. You'll also hear from Brent Key, Georgia Tech head coach, a little bit later in the show. Brent was nice enough to stop by the virtual studio, chat a little bit about where his program is, where it's going to be, and the season opener in Dublin, Ireland. ACC predictions. If you are listening on Apple or Spotify, this graphic will be up on the X profile, so you can see exactly where I have each team in the ACC, but we'll run them down for you. I apologize if this gets a little monotonous. I am going to go very quickly. Full record and then ACC record. Clemson 11-1, 7-1. Florida State 11-1, 7-1. Miami 10-2, 7-1. There's a tiebreaker involved. Virginia Tech 10-2, 6-2. North Carolina 9-3, 6-2. SMU 9-3, 5-3. Louisville 7-5, 5-3. NC State 7-5, 4-4. Georgia Tech 6-6, 4-4. Pitt 6-6, 3-5. California 6-6, 3-5. Virginia 4-8, 3-5. Boston College 4-8, 2-6. Stanford 4-8, 2-6. Duke 4-8, 1-7. Syracuse 4-8, 1-7, and Wake Forest 4-8, 1-7. All right. So what's the deal at the top? What's the deal at the top? First things first, before we break down each of those three teams, Clemson and Florida State in the ACC championship game, with Clemson winning it. Why not Miami in the ACC championship game? Well, first of all, they lose a tiebreaker. That is the head-to-head matchup versus Florida State. So that's the reason that Miami is not in the ACC championship game. I apologize, Canes fans. I know you don't like hearing that, but here we are. All right, let's talk a little bit about why I love Clemson. I'm still a Clemson believer. I am still a Clemson believer. I'm still a Cade Klubnik believer. I think last year with Garrett Riley, I think the expectations were a little out of whack. I think Dabo meddled a little too much in the offense. And there was not a lot of trust. This year is different. And I say it's different because year two, for a lot of these guys in a system, experience for a lot of players matters a lot, especially in an ACC where, let's be honest, there's not a lot to get excited about in terms of overall high-quality teams. We saw Phil Maffa in the bowl game. He's an every down back. We know it. We've seen it. When Will Shipley was hurt, he did it. There's no doubt about that. But the offensive line, always go to the offensive line. 4 out of 5 returning. Now, if you've watched this show, you know where I'm going with this. I'm not the biggest returning starters guy in the sense that you can put a list up and X team has 17, 18, whatever. For some of those teams, the returning starters just suck, so it doesn't matter. This is different with Clemson. The offensive line, I think, will be a force. It will be in the mix for the Joe Moore Award. And if you have an offensive line that's in the mix for a Joe Moore Award, you have a good running back as the 1A, you've got a quarterback with experience, and you've got receivers outside. You have a recipe for success, and that's exactly what Clemson has. Now, I know part of this will be, do you trust the receivers? I trust them enough, but if you have an offensive line that can protect Cade Klubnik, maybe he will actually start to stretch the field again. He didn't do that last year. It surprised me. It surprised a lot of other people. Still have no idea why that happened, but it did. So I really like where they are offensively. And a motto I've lived by for a very long time covering this game. I'm 44. I've been doing this for pretty much my entire professional life. In this day and age, and I said this in the 2000s, defense doesn't win championships. Just enough defense wins championships. And that definition is a moving target based on a lot of different variables. Specifically, how good is your offense? I think this Clemson offense can be top 10 nationally. So what you're going to ask of the defense is not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. The experience is not there. You got some on the back end, but I mean, it's a problem experience-wise. Talent-wise, I think they'll be fine. Plus, the ask is going to be to just be decent. Just be decent. And I think this Clemson team can just be decent. So that's why I have Clemson, and I have Florida State up there as well. And if you look at the graphic, if you're listening, go check it out on X or YouTube. Florida State 11-1, 7-1. Pretty obvious where the loss is because Clemson's going to win the ACC. All right, Georgia's going to beat Clemson. And so there you go. Florida State to me is an enigma. So I won't say an enigma. It's just like, I don't know you. Like, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want to be. I don't know what you want to be. And when it comes to the personnel, is DJU going to be the guy? Is DJU capable of taking this personnel, taking these dudes, and being elite? I think he can be. The system sets up better for DJU. The system sets up better for DJU. He can run the ball up the middle. I still think he's got dudes outside that can absolutely help him out. The Alabama connection, I think, is a little interesting. Malik Benson, Rita Williams, so those other guys, it's sort of a pipeline for cast-offs from Alabama, but cast-offs from Alabama are pretty good. So it might be sketchy in the first game, and we'll talk about that first game with Georgia Tech with Coach Brent Key a little bit later, but Georgia Tech's a good program. It might be a little sketchy. This might be a feeling out process. But when you got Boston College, and Memphis is kind of scary, but then California after this game, you have a lot to build off of, so to speak, right? You have a foundation. You know what works. You know what doesn't. That's more important. And then I think defensively, depth, especially in the middle of that defensive line, is a problem. It's a problem, but it's the ACC. It's the ACC. So when all is said and done, I think Florida State will be more consistent with a higher ceiling than Miami. And with Miami, I think, I don't know how to say this the right way. I know it's our job to say this the right way, but I don't want to be just flat out disrespectful. I'm going to be, though. Cam Ward's a stat monster. Cam Ward is a stat monster. I know all these people are all in love with Cam Ward, and I get it. He's had success in a lot of different places. Last year at Washington, it's Washington State. It's Washington State. Now, I know the step up from the Pac-12, RIP Pac-12, is to the ACC is not that much different, especially last year because the Pac-12 is pretty good. But defensively, a lot of these teams can play. He's got weapons around him. He's got weapons around him, especially a wide receiver led by Xavier Restrepo. I can never say that name right. And I love Martinez from Oregon State. Speaking of DJU, you know, that 1-2 punch, DJU and excuse me, Martinez, that you saw that week one against San Jose State, and it just never stopped. I mean, they were really, really good together. And I know the schedule sets up well. It's hard for me to trust Mario Cristobal. It really is hard for me to trust Mario Cristobal. Time management has been a consistent issue with him. It's not just a one-off. It's not just a one-off. And it goes back to something that I've said for a long time with coaching staffs. You need to have a vice president of common sense, an assistant coach for common sense that doesn't do anything, keeps his mouth shut until the head coach is about to do something stupid. Then he steps in and says, hey, bro, yeah, you shouldn't do that. Would have saved the Georgia Tech game last year for Miami. And I think Mario's too prideful to actually listen to people when it comes to that. It's frustrating for Miami fans because I know you want to be better. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Last one before we go game by game, or you see my game by game predictions, is SMU at 6, 9-3 and 5-3. You'll see SMU in week 0 at Nevada. There's not a lot to get excited about in terms of week 0. I'm actually very excited about this because I want to see Preston Stone. I want to see what Rhett can do. I think this team could actually surprise people. I think this team, if I'm wrong or they spring an upset in the right spot or wrong spot, they can get to the ACC championship game. I believe that. The talent level going from AAC to ACC, it's not as big as it used to be, and it's a lot easier to make that jump with the transfer portal. And Rhett's done a good job of that. So SMU 9-3, 5-3, they're going to suffer an upset. They're going to have a letdown, but that team can play. Now, where will that letdown be? Because now you're seeing the game-by-game predictions. It's going to be at Stanford. Across the country. Middle of a losing streak in my mind. 2 straight losses by a week at Stanford. Sorry, Rhett. I love you. There's going to be a letdown somewhere. Might as well be there. Might as well be there. So I apologize. All right. Some other games that I think are of note. And again, you can see this on YouTube or on my X feed. All this stuff will be pinned here in a little bit. We talked about Florida State and Miami. Sorry, Hurricane fans. I'm not buying it. Now, NC State is one of those chic picks, right? Tennessee in week 2 at Clemson. That is a tough one. That's a tough spot. At Georgia Tech and at North Carolina to end it. NC State fans, and my neighbor right over there is an NC State grad. Loves NC State. He's probably going to get mad at me for saying this. Let's hold off on some of the preseason love, especially for Grayson McCall. Grayson McCall took advantage of the COVID year. Grayson McCall could have gone to a bunch of places last year. He didn't. Now, there are multiple reasons, plural, that didn't happen. I think if you're expecting him to be the guy you saw at Coastal Carolina, you're doing a disservice to yourself, you're doing a disservice to him, and you're doing a disservice to Dave Dorn. I just have my doubts about Grayson McCall being an effective starter in the ACC. I think if you get in his head, then he might stay there for a very long time. He might stay there for a very, very, very long time. Last thing with my game-by-game schedule. Virginia Tech. Hokey, Virginia. VPI losing at Miami, losing against Clemson. The only 2 losses for the Hokies. If you don't know Drones, get to know them at quarterback. They return almost everybody, and they're a good team. They got hot down the stretch. They have a full offseason now to figure out how that offense is going to work. That means they tinker and tweak things, and they don't have to figure it out on the fly in fall camp. So the last 3 weeks, they've just sort of had fuel additives sort of installed into that offense. Keep an eye on Tech. That team absolutely can make a run for the ACC championship. Hey, you've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. We have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet up to $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with YouTube TV as a base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment. You can cancel at any time. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. Today's episode also brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. One-on-one, Brent Key, the head coach of the Jackets, coming up on the other side. It's College Football Smothered and Covered, powered by Locked On. Joined now by Georgia Tech head coach Brent Key. Brent, of course, making the trip across the pond, as will I, over to play Florida State in Ireland. Brent, what's going on?
Not much. How's it going?
Doing well, doing well. So, first of all, let's talk about this game. Unique experience, obviously, going across the pond to take on Florida State in a conference game, no less. So there's a lot of different little angles to this that are very interesting. I guess first things first, what does this stage sort of mean for you and the development and the foundation you're trying to still build for your program?
Yeah, I mean, it's anytime you get to open up the season with the defending conference champs, league play right out of the gate. In a game that is on a stage that a lot of people are going to see. It's a good opportunity, first off, to see where we are as a football team. And I mean, no different than any other coach in the country would say. Right now, we all really know how our team is relative to each other, relative to itself. But that's what makes college football great, is now we get to go see what we are relative to another team. So, and so that's exciting. It's exciting to be on stage, and really for people to see Georgia Tech. Not just Georgia Tech football, but also Georgia Tech, and exciting for the alumni and the fans, the kids to be able to, play in a different part of the world. And then really for the game of football, just continue to create exposure for the game of American football internationally.
It is unique. So I guess, I know coaches are all, and players too, are always like focus on the next play, focus on the next snap, control all the controllables, all that stuff. But how much of the talk, and it's true. I mean, that's how you guys think. I mean, it's not coach speak. It's actually how you guys operate. Right. But
you're the first person that's actually recognized that and admitted that it's not coach speak. That really is how you guys are all wired. So I appreciate
it's the truth. It's the truth. Like I can sit here and complain like, Brent's not going to give me anything because he's only focused on the next play. It's like, well, yeah, that's your job, right? That's what you're supposed to do.
That's refreshing, bro. I appreciate that.
I appreciate the compliment. But, this is sort of out there, obviously, going to Ireland. What has been the talk, around fall camp, just with the experience and the buildup that the players are feeling about an experience that a lot of them will never experience again?
No, it's really most of those things really fall on the ops, the administration, the people that are planning everything and doing the details. We do keep the guys really grounded into what they're doing, improving, as a player individually, improving both sides of the ball, improving our special teams. I mean, and so it hadn't really hit that point where I think okay, we're about to go over to Ireland to play a game. I think they're still in that mode of, we're getting ready to play a game. I think now when they start scrounging up and make sure they all have their passports together, and we'll do that way before the night before we leave. So, I think that part of it will start to hit them pretty quickly. But at the same time, we're doing a lot. I mean, we're tempering that down as well. This isn't a whole lot different than going, East Coast, West Coast in the NFL. Going from Seattle to Miami or Atlanta. There's not a lot of difference in the time. So, I don't want the kids to overthink the jet lag and, being tired and those things. They're kids, their bodies adjust, pretty quickly. And, I think the experience will come once they probably step on the plane and see that, all right, we're locking in to, fly 6.5 hours as opposed to an hour, 2 hours.
Well, I mean, Stanford and Cal have to do it almost every single week in the ACC as it is. So it's just like y'all you're not just a national, you're international, and might as well have you guys in Florida State do it as well. So, obviously you're a Georgia Tech alum. You get the job under very interesting circumstances, not just midseason a couple of years ago, but also in an era where times in the world of college athletics are changing very fast. So you've had success. You've built Georgia Tech into a program that people recognize now. How hard has that been, sort of with all of the other ancillary stuff that's gone on that you guys have to deal with on a daily basis?
I don't know if I picked my head up long enough to really think about that. And it's every day you wake up and attack the job that's underneath you for the day. We know that we're building something we want to build that has a solid foundation built for an extended period of time, for a long time. But the urgency you have to have every day to accomplish what you're doing in that day really supersedes the patience you have to to stack the days and build it over a course of time. So to be able to come in and have the sense of urgency every day to do what we have to do, and we really believe that if we give everything we have, everybody walks in the store every day knowing that our goal, each individual's goal, is to build the best program in the country, and they don't deviate from that. I don't want people to walk in and feel as if we're punching a clock and we're here from this time to this time. I want everybody to be invested in the program from anyone that works, from coaches to staff, administration. No matter if you're in this building, you're invested in the success of the program, no different than the coaches and the kids. So when you have everybody really working that same direction, I think you have a chance to build something special.
A lot of people this weekend are going to get a chance to see Haynes King, a guy who a lot of people heard of. He won the job at Texas A&M twice, obviously horrible injury luck, transfers to Georgia Tech, has a ton of success in year one for you. For you personally, recruiting him, seeing how he's handled all of his rather circuitous route to get to where he is right now, how satisfying is it for you to see him succeed, and what should people expect to see from him this season?
I think probably the biggest reason me and Haynes have such a good relationship is both of us are in a position that the route to get here was the uncommon one. It wasn't, by the way people script it out. It wasn't the way people write a book. We both kind of took the uncommon journey to get where we're at, and that's allowed a bond to occur between head coach and quarterback. I think it's one of the most important ones you can have, because they have a bad game, they have a good game. They're the ones that are in front of the media. They're the ones that have to take the podium, no different than the head coach. People aren't looking at the guy that dropped the ball on the sideline. The quarterback's the one getting his picture on the jumbotron. So to be able to share the good things and the bad things with your quarterback as the head coach, I think really develops a bond between the two, because he has to be an extension of you and of the head coach, and an extension, yes, of the play caller on offense and the coordinator of how they're running that side of the ball. But the mentality that a football program has, the coaches are only around them so much, and but the players are together, and it's through the quarterback that team is really built and the identity is created.
You're heading in. You've had 2 full off seasons now, as the head coach, and offensively, you return a ton. I know offensive line wise, that's you take some pride in how those players played. You got some experience up there. You got a 1,000-yard back coming back. So, what were some of the tweaks and things you tried to focus on in terms of keeping this offense fresh and building upon what you already have?
Well, you want to be able to continue to add to what you have. I think Buster does a great job of building the offense out for, number one, what's good for our players. And then that's what's important. It's not about what plays you call. It's about how they're executed. And he does a good job of building the offense out to meet our strengths and really to eliminate some of the weaknesses. So you going into a second year, you really want to focus on the development of your fundamentals, your technique, especially when you got guys returning that have started and played games. But the big thing we've been able to really do from spring ball till now is increase our depth. That's the big thing that is build depth, increase the depth, have more guys that can come in and be that 6th lineman, 7th lineman, 8th lineman in the game, because that's only going to make you better and going to make you healthier for the whole season. So increasing depth, adding to the repertoire, adding more complements, plays off plays, being able to have the full package in now that complements the skill set of our players.
I think you made 4 staff changes defensively this offseason. Obviously, it's a point of concern, a point of emphasis in terms of what you want to do in terms of building your program to play complementary football at an elite level. So what changes should fans expect in terms of the defense this year?
Better. It's one of those things where early on you see the chemistry. Look, you can have really good people and really good coaches together, but sometimes it's just the chemistry isn't right when working together. So I think we've had really good chemistry in the defensive room, really good relationships with the players. They're really good teachers, being able to teach the concepts, not just what they're doing defensively, but what they're attacking offensively. But it really all starts with the ability to stop the run. And That's the A1 thing we have to accomplish. And the coaches have done a good job of putting the defense in, teaching the defense, but then we've also been able to go out and acquire some pieces on the defensive side of the ball that help with personnel as well.
Last thing, you did a great job keeping players from transferring. I don't know what the exact statistic is, but in terms of players leaving, you're pretty low on that list. Just what's it like re-recruiting your own roster basically every single minute of every single day?
I think you said that's the key to it, is every minute of every day. It's not – I don't look at it as re-recruiting them. I look at it as continuing to build on the relationships, continue to have open conversations, to be transparent with them. Players, coaches get players what they need, not what they want. Everybody wants the pie in the sky, but to be able to give these guys what they need to be successful on the field, off the field, in the classroom, that's what's important. And then the camaraderie they have with each other. There's friendship. People lose sight of that too. There's still long-lasting friendships and bonds that these guys have that they build from freshman, sophomore, junior, and sometimes those override whatever to go somewhere else.
Well, Brent, appreciate it. Good luck in Ireland. It should be a fun way to start the season, a conference game against Florida State. And look, I'm happy to be there. I might be a couple Guinnesses in. I'm not gonna say I won't be, but that Guinness Brewery and that Jameson Distillery are calling my name. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Thanks. Go Jackets.
College football is back, and it's not too late to catch up before the season starts. SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12, you can get it all from Locked On, stable of college football experts, by subscribing to the Locked On College Football Podcast. Who has a chance to make the playoff? The teams will create chaos. Who are those chaos agent in the new conferences? Everybody needs to know all in one place. You can get it all there. Be sure to follow and subscribe to the Locked On College Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Ibotta is a free app to let you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn on hundreds of items, from groceries to beauty supplies, even toys, so you can make sure you're beating inflation. Lots of that, no matter what you're purchasing. Average Ibotta user earns $256 a year. That could cover the cost of an entire shipping trip, maybe even a plane ticket, depending on how much they cost. Other apps can give you points and don't amount to much. I mean, with Ibotta, you can earn cash that earns you a withdrawal from goes straight to your bank account, PayPal, gift cards, whatever. Simply add offers in the app, upload your receipt, and voila, the money is right there. Over 2,400 brands, 1,000 retailers through Ibotta, Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy. You can get all of them. Right now, Ibotta is offering listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONCollege when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use Locked On College. That's IBOTTA. IBOTTA. Get it in the Google Play or App Store. Use promo code Locked On College. All right, let's go Heisman. Let's talk Heisman a little bit, because the ACC doesn't have a lot to worry about. 3 guys: Cade Klubnik, Cam Ward, DJU. Those are the only 3. Now, I know what you're saying. Well, maybe Omarion Hampton at North Carolina, maybe Grayson McCall at NC State. You heard me talk about Grayson McCall. I don't think that's happening, but maybe I'm wrong. Long shot on Preston Stone. Long shot on Preston Stone at SMU. I think when you look at Heisman, and I'm a Heisman voter, so I can't really tell you everything that goes through everybody's mind, but a lot of folks like that Cinderella, right? They like that fresh new kid, right? Well, if Preston Stone lights it up at SMU and SMU gets to the ACC championship game, tell you what, buddy, that might be enough. That might be enough. You've heard me talk about Cam and DJU and Cade, and I get it. But if you're looking for a couple dark horses, you're probably already on the Grayson McCall train. Preston Stone, SMU. That is the guy you might need to worry about. Thank you for making College Football Smothered, powered by College. Thank you for making College Football Smothered and Covered, powered by Locked On, your first listen today. Now go check out Locked On College Football From Spencer McLaughlin, from NIL deals to never-ending conference alignment, Spencer has you covered. Get you ready for an exciting season on the gridiron. You can find a link to Locked On College Football in the description, so you don't even need to search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Enjoy your team every day. And today I am headed out to Dublin, Ireland. Going to catch the Florida State Georgia Tech game. Going to have all the coverage from Ireland over the next 3 or 4 days. But before then, we have Big Ten Day. We will have that on Thursday. The set will not look like this. The set will look like a hotel room in Dublin. But it'll be Big Ten Day. So until then, talk to you soon, guys. Headed over to Ireland.